welcome to Psychos and Sociopaths. Today we're going to talk.
Right.
I know, right? I was
Hey.
surprised, and I like went over it in my head a couple of times. But we're going to talk about the Menendez Brothers,
Joseph
Eric and
Lyle
Lyle.
and Eric. Yeah, Eric
Yeah.
Gilleen, yeah.
What happened on this one is they basically killed their parents for the insurance, and they're saying they're emotionally and sexually abused. Was it? Yeah, from their father.
Yeah, so I remember watching the news and seeing these, as I don't want to say as a kid, because I mean this was all in like '96, but yeah, I remember seeing this. This was like the big thing in the news.
Yeah.
And I was on active duty then, so it's like, we're sitting there watching the news. We're like, man, how fucked up are these guys?
No, it's really fucked up, and I'll put a photo right here, to where there's
I mean, these were popular guys.
There's a Mark Jackson baseball card, and the player, basketball player, they were sitting courtside on the Knicks game right after they killed their parents and everything, getting the insurance.
Yeah, they were just like nonchalant, like, hey, there we go. But yeah, I mean, these guys, I mean, they tried to try them. They were first tried separately, with one jury for each brother.
Yeah.
Both of the juries deadlocked, which resulted in a mistrial. And for the second trial, they were tried together by a single jury that found them guilty. Because I think what happened was that independently, their ability through their personalities to portray that image.
Yeah.
Of, hey, look, I was the victim here, really benefited them. But when they put them together, it was kind of like two reactive chemicals coming together, and it was just like the negative energy fed off of each other, and that really the jury picked that up. The prosecution was really able to run with it, and I think ultimately that's what put these guys down. So
yeah, it was just egotistical. To this day, I didn't find anything. They keep on repeating the whole thing that they're abused and everything like that, but there's no real documentation of that abuse. I mean, there might be, but it's just looking like it's a egotistical money grab.
yeah, these dudes were just like cold about it. Like, okay, so they went in. Their parents, Jose and Kitty, right? They were sitting on the couch in the den of their house, in Beverly Hills. Lyle and Eric, they went into the den carrying some shotguns, Mossberg 12 gauges. They shot their dad in the back of the head. Mom got woken up. I mean, guy's mom was sleeping on the couch, right? Yeah. So they shot her.
Basically said, "Oh,
yeah." They shot her in the leg. They shot her in the leg. She fell. Then she was shot several times in the arms, chest, and face, leaving her unrecognizable. And then both parents were shot in the kneecaps in an attempt to make the murders look like they were connected to organized crime. So I mean, these dudes thought it out,
Wait a minute. Okay, so
they tried to make it look like hits because.
Okay, so the mother was
them both.
Unrecognizable, but
Yeah.
the father was.
Well, they shot the dad in the back of the head, so making him recognizable. I think maybe like part of his face was still there. Not entirely sure,
but they only shot him once.
They only shot him once.
So
now post mortem, they shot them multiple times because the way that the report read was that after post mortem, they shot him in the kneecaps to make it look like it was connected to organized crime. Like, okay, you had these thugs come in, wise guys, whatever, came in, shot him in the kneecaps. Like, I'm going to shoot your kneecaps out, because, does Maurice look like a bitch to you?
So they pretty much digged into way too much for the
right, yeah, because I mean
mafia movies,
right? So but and then they had the audacity. They called 911, and they were, they were putting on a very Hollywood-esque, production. Like, somebody shot my parents. It's like they were screaming, like they were getting all emotional into it. And I mean, they were really going for that Oscar, best performance in a murder scene, goes to.
Yeah.
And I mean, they really played the part whenever they called 911. They had told, let's see here, when the police department arrived, the brothers told them that the murders had occurred while they were at a movie theater seeing Batman, which in 1989, that was the big movie,
yeah,
right?
It was the big
with
movie.
Michael Keaton, who hands down is the best Batman. Don't get me started. Then they went, and then the annual attending the annual Taste of LA festival in Santa Monica. The police did not order the brothers to undergo gunshot residue testing. And I think so my mic's still open. Okay, great. So they didn't do the whole gunshot residue test to find out whether they had recently used a firearm, since at the time the lack of evidence prevented them from looking into the brothers more thoroughly. It says in the months after the murders, the brothers began to spend more money because they were getting all this money from the insurance.
Yeah.
Adding suspicions that they were somehow involved in the murders of their parents. Lyle bought a Rolex watch, a Porsche Carrera, and Chuck's Spring Street Cafe. It's a Buffalo Wing restaurant in Princeton, New Jersey. While Eric had hired a full-time tennis coach and competed in a series of tournaments in Israel, so they were traveling. And if they took the time, to me, this is what blows my mind. This is where arrogance and cockiness gets everybody. It gets 100% of people 100% of the time. They took the time to do as much research about mob hits as they possibly could to shoot their parents in the kneecaps to make it look like a mob hit. But the number one rule in every mob movie, when you get a ton of money, is don't fucking spend it. Yeah. And what do? They go out and spend it, and they not only do they spend it, but they spend it in a very grand visual fashion.
Yeah.
Let me see.
They didn't look that part up. And
they eventually left. Yeah, they eventually left the family mansion unoccupied, as they decided to live in adjoining condos in nearby Marina del Rey. They also drove around Los Angeles in their deceased mother's Mercedes-Benz SL convertible. They went to expensive restaurants. They went on overseas trips. It's believed that they spent somewhere around $700,000 during the period between the murders and their arrests.
That's unbelievable.
So I think maybe at some point they refused to believe that they were going to get caught, but their voice in the back of their head was going, they're going to know. How are they going to know? They're going to know.
Yeah. Well, in any kind of criminal case like that, if there's two people, the likelihood of you actually getting caught and everything is very high. Even though every cop or detective will actually tell you, it's like, okay, how you going to do these mothers? Well, me and him, I was like, all right, you just got caught. Because one of you was going to spill it.
Right. Well, what is it that, the best way to keep a secret is to kill everybody involved?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
even the birds.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think at some point,
because they're the
one of them needed to turn on the other, and they could have made it look like it was like a triple homicide. He had come home, and it's like, oh
yeah, it's
or at least made it look like a murder suicide kind of a thing. It's like, well, brother did the murders, and then then killed himself. He did the whole Courtney Love making it look like Kurt Cobain. You notice I did not say Kurt Cobain killed himself because it was totally Courtney Love.
I was actually going to think about doing
You talking about that show Bleach?
No, the FBI just released a lot of documentation about Kurt Cobain's death.
Yeah,
I mean, even his father's like, yeah, that bitch killed her.
Yeah, like okay, so the crime scene photo of Kurt Cobain sitting on the couch, dude, the shotgun was too perfectly placed. Like, I mean, not that I would have any personal experience.
You can go.
If you're gonna blow your head off with like at least a 12 gauge, your body's not gonna be holding it like this. Just not going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no blood splatter on the shotgun itself.
I mean, they're both drug addicts and everything like that. So it's just
we
can get into that later on in another episode.
We can do that'll be like our next what the hell. We can dive into the conspiracy of Kurt Cobain's death.
Yeah.
So when Court TV kind of became like a thing. I mean, that was
this shot him up to the rafters.
Yeah, I mean, so.
But it knocked him down
and
until
that really helped.
Case.
Yeah, like that helped that new network, Court TV, really get established too.
Yeah,
it was like, their first big thing, like with CNN, it was the Gulf War.
Yeah.
Court TV, it was the Menendez trial.
Yeah.
But let's see here. I know that they. Let me see here.
Of course, it actually says
they're still alive too, so I don't think.
Yeah, they just recently in 2018 came to the same unit.
Yeah.
And that's the if you're correctional officers, they came to the same farm, and if you're actually a regular person, it's just the same prison.
Mm-hmm.
But they, as soon as they got into the same cell or whatever, they started hugging each other, crying, blah, blah, blah. And this has been about 22 years since they've seen each other.
Yeah.
So,
But Lyle got married while he was in prison back in, was he 96?
Yeah, it's so strange, but you can get married when you're in prison.
Right, yeah.
I
can fix him. Like, lady, he killed his parents for insurance money.
Look at the case with the Robert Francis.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the trying to find her mother's skull and everything like that. Women are so strange. I'm just and I can't say just women. It's not just women. There's guys too that do that. They end up in a toxic relationship, and it is people. They'll end up.
The words codependent come to mind, like glaringly,
heavily, and a lot of people. I don't want to say. Well, I can say something. There's a person that thinks they control me and everything like that. I'm like, you do realize I'm moving, and I'm not having a problem with it. Of course, I also coined the phrase when she yelled at me, and I ran off. She's like, "Why'd you do that?" It was like, "Well, I don't come from you, I don't come in you, and I don't come on you. So I don't really care about your thoughts."
I dig that. Yeah.
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 But,
so let's see here. What is it? Eric married a lady in '99. Eric married a woman named Tammy Ruth Sackerman at Folsom State Prison. In the waiting room.
Yeah, that's where they have the wedding. At the Allred unit, when I was working at, they have like a little outside court area and everything like that, where you can take photos with your loved ones and everything like that. You can get nowadays you can get married, and it's really strange, and some of them it's one of those things is saying that there was an episode of House, or it was one of those doctor shows, where the guy ended up having been poisoned because he got out of jail faster, and he was married to a chick, and the rookie.
Yeah.
Okay. And what had happened is she had poisoned him, trying to kill him because she didn't want to be married to him.
Oh, yes. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
But I think it's funny, like, okay, so with Eric, the woman, Tammy Ruth that he married, it's kind of like that meme that says, women, if your man puts more than 3 ingredients in his ramen, that fucker's a felon. Yeah. Right? Quote, our wedding cake was a Twinkie. We improvised. It was a wonderful ceremony until I had to leave. That night was a very lonely night. And I'm just sitting there going, the Twinkie, just, it was the Twinkie for me, you know? I'm just sitting there going,
okay.
Like,
getting on the correctional side on this, you'd be surprised what they actually do. Because they'll make cakes. And the way they make the cakes is the Oreo cookies. They'll take all the frosting off the inside and everything, crush them. Or they're not Oreo cookies, they're like the off-brand, but still you get the same cake. And you get the vanilla ones where you have a vanilla cake, and they do that.
Oh, they'll get crafty, yeah.
Yeah, you get very crafty when you barely have anything to do with. And it amazed me the human ingenuity on some of this stuff. So, but
yeah, and here was one thing too. So she self-published a book titled "They Said We'd Never Make It: My Life with Eric Menendez." She said on Larry King before he died that Eric also did a lot of editing on the book, right? So I mean, come on, all right. So,
well, I can get a.
And it says, "quote." She did an interview with People magazine. She said that not having sex in my life is difficult, but it's not a problem for me. I have to be emotionally attached. And I'm emotionally attached to Eric. My family does not understand. When it started to get serious, some of them just threw their hands up. And it's like, all right, so
well, there's a woman that married a freaking bridge, so.
Right, on that level of, okay, I'm committed to this individual, and it's like they want to build a relationship around things that are not physical. So, like for me, example, it's like, okay, before, with my girlfriend now, it's like we work on things beyond the physical. Like, yeah, the physical part of a relationship, as I'm sure you're aware, it's a very important part of the relationship, right? But everything past that, before, during, and after, like the physical portion of it, I mean, it's that to me. That's the more substantive side of it. So I mean, I can understand where she's coming from, but it's like, okay, how much of that was she doing for the notoriety for her quote unquote 15 minutes? You know, she said her wedding night was a very lonely night, but it's like, was it really? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, did she's like,
Well,
oh,
I figure your girlfriend just puts a paper bag over your face.
you know what? Yeah, she.
I mean,
She's gonna hunt you down.
probably.
Yeah, so be
I
afraid.
it's not the first woman tried to kill
Be
me. It won't be the
very
last.
afraid. Yeah.
Eh,
No.
I become pretty crafty with that stuff.
You know, so I mean, she might go Lizzie Borden on you. So if she sends you a Facebook request, deny it, dude, because it's.
I'm surprised that hasn't
It'd be a hacker.
happened yet. But anyways, not my man. He's cute. But other than that, there really isn't that much. It was just a spectacle of the time.
Yeah.
Because you had this new network that just came up. They had this new case that was really off the wall, and it had like not a part 1, but it had a part 2. Yeah. That was what's really strange about this case, and the fact that they thought they could get away with it and show it to where there was a mafia hit or anything like that, and I don't even think the police digged in that much to see if it was a mafia hit.
Yeah, I mean,
because I saw how they did it too, and I was digging in throughout the whole case, trying to find out if there was any type of investigation on the mafia, and there really wasn't.
I think that it was the beginnings of the.
I think they knew, and they just needed to get more evidence.
Yeah, as far as like the brothers were concerned and why they did what they did, I don't think there was any kind of like underlying trauma that they experienced during their childhood or any kind of like sexual abuse that they received at the hands of family members or anything like that. I think that what they did, given the area that they were living in at the time, which is Beverly Hills, everything's all very, very materialistic there.
And it's very comsec opsec.
Yeah, so it's one of those. They knew that they didn't have any discernible life skills to go out and make their own way in the world. So they were doing it for they were trying to get there as fast as they possibly could. And they were, and they didn't want to, at least in their minds, they didn't want to look at it, or they didn't want to have to deal with the ire of their parents.
Yeah, so. It's the whole, and someone would probably just beat the holy crap out of me off this one, but it's kind of the pretty girl syndrome, where they're told they're pretty and everything, they're given all this stuff and everything like that, and as soon as they grow up and they find out that's not how the world really works for them. Yeah, I mean, and sometimes it's guys too.
Trying to make. Yeah, that's the point where I was trying to make. I just couldn't make the connection. It's the beginnings of that whole participation trophy.
Or a brat. I think the best thing would be a brat. Would be the best way to say that.
Well, I mean, at least with the brats. I mean, people who identify themselves as being brats. I mean, they'll throw those little superficial fits. Yeah. Or they'll stick their lower lip out and they'll be all pouty. But at the end of the day, they know, hey, look, I've got to put that back. I've got to put it away, and I've got to put my nose to the grindstone. They know that they have to go to work.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that actually do that.
Yeah, but with these two jackasses, I mean, they
had the silver spoon in their mouth.
The whole time, I mean, from that point, from birth on to the day that they pulled those triggers, and to the day, to the day that they got incarcerated, they were having stuff handed to them with the minimal amount of effort being put forth.
Yeah,
and so they said, okay, well, for whatever reason, it clicked into their head that this was going to be the best way to make as much money as possible to live the lifestyle that they wanted to live.
I'm surprised they didn't try to do a bank robbery. I think that would probably be
to me with the bank. Well, because I mean, with bank robbery, I mean, even in the grandest scale of the most complex bank robberies out there, whether it be Hans Gruber or the guys who shot up that bank at Santa Monica with body armor, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're still nothing more than just a petty thief.
Yeah.
And I think in their minds, they kind of looked at it that like, well, we're not thieves. We're just gonna,
No, their thinking was, well, we were being abused sexually and mentally and everything like that.
Well, I don't think that, like I said, the sexual side of it, I don't think ever happened. I think in their mind, they felt that they were being deprived and they were being mentally abused because their parents were probably gonna say, look, when you guys are gonna have to move out, you guys are gonna have to make your own way. And I
basically
think
do the same thing that my parents did on my graduation, is give me luggage.
and maybe even just in a couple of years too late, because at that point, I think honestly, and there's no way to ever prove it, but I think maybe their parents had threatened to cut them off if they hadn't gone out and done A, B, and C, and so they decided that. I think that's what ultimately was the justification in their mind that they used to say, hey, we're just going to get rid of the problem, and then we're going to reap the benefits from it. But what their problem is the reason why they got caught was the fact that they went out and started spending the money the way that they did, on the scale that they did. Had they not done that, if they'd said, "Hey, look, we're going to invest this, and we're gonna live meagerly, or modestly," the police would have never looked at them.
Yeah.
And so, would it have eventually come back and bitten them in the ass?
I still to this day,
maybe 25, 30 years down the road, possibly, yeah. But by that time,
you'll lose a lot of your evidence.
Yeah, your evidence is going to degrade, and so I think ultimately, ego, like a lot of the killer or the people that we profile in this particular show, I think ego got in the way.
Yeah,
ego's ultimately what ended up getting them caught.
And that's what most of the time it's just mistakes. Their mistake was spending way too much. But this is a good episode on this one. I just like the fact of they were shown out on courtside, and then they made one guy famous because of it.
Yeah, they made his one trading card absolutely valuable because the fact that
it's like $300 to $1,000 to get that card.
Yeah,
and it's only because of the notoriety that the Menendez Brothers are in the background. I bet he hates it.
Oh, I bet he does too.
Baseball player.
Was
it Mark Jackson? Yeah, Mark Jackson. I bet he hates it. He's like, I was a good ball player and everything. I had good stats, but the only thing I remember is because of those damn kids.
Right. Like, I'd have had a quiet career if it weren't for you two pesky kids.
Yeah. But hit the like button and share as much as you possibly can. Comment. Well, I'm going to start doing this with the T-shirts. We have so
like
fuck socialism. Socialism T-shirts we'll give out to
we'll
people.
Come up with other shirt ideas, but give us a comment. Leave in the comment section.
And especially you'll get a repeat of stuff that you like. It goes with the algorithm.
Yeah, the algorithm. But in the comment section, definitely kind of give us a suggestion for who you want to see profiled on the show next. And if we pick your suggestion, we'll possibly toss a shirt your way.
Yeah. All right, people. This is Psychos and Sociopaths. Talk to you later. Bye.